Well, surprise, surprise, The Atlantic is a leftist rag that nobody should give any credence to whatsoever. You probably already know what we're going to be talking about, and that is their recent article that came out this week that was, as CNN described it, a bombshell. In that it alleged that Trump has made various disparaging remarks about those who had served in the military. That and more on this episode of The WireTap. Hello everyone, my name is JD.
And this is Logan.
And this is The WireTap. Thank you for joining us. Let's just dive right into the article from The Atlantic. Jeffrey Goldberg, who is the editor-in-chief. This is the article from September 3rd of 2020. Trump, Americans who died in war are, quote, losers and suckers. The president has repeatedly disparaged the intelligence of service members and asked that wounded veterans be kept out of the military parades, multiple sources tell The Atlantic. When Donald Trump canceled the visit to the Marne American Cemetery near Paris in 2018, he blamed rain for the last-minute decision, saying that the helicopter couldn't fly and that the Secret Service couldn't drive him there. Neither of these claims were true. Trump rejected the idea of the visit because he feared his hair would become disheveled in the rain, and because he did not believe it important to honor American war dead, according to 4 people with first-hand knowledge of the discussion that day. In a conversation with senior staff members on the morning of the scheduled visit, Trump said, "Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers." In a separate conversation on the same trip, Trump referred to the more than 1,800 Marines who lost their lives at Belleau Wood as suckers for getting killed. This is such a... This isn't even... I'm at a loss for words. I mean, let's just be honest. This is such a stupid discussion that we're having right now. And ever since coronavirus has happened, a lot of our discussions in terms of national politics and things have become a lot more stupid than they normally have been in the past. And this is a prime example of it. Does this sound like anything at all? And I know that if you're a diehard liberal, you would probably say yes. But like, put yourself outside of your box for a moment and just think about the things that Donald Trump says and the way that he says things. All right. Does this even sound like something that Donald Trump would say, other than the losers and the suckers part, which sounds like words that he would use? But does this really even sound like something that he would say? A grown adult who is the president of the United States. Does this really sound like something that would have happened, that he wouldn't go to the cemetery over in France to commemorate World War
One, was it?
I think it was World War II, was it? Servicemen in that war. Do we really believe that is something that he did?
Well, they want you to believe it.
And yeah, they are certainly trying as hard as they can, aren't they?
Well, this is just one of the multiple Hail Marys that we are going to see between now and November. This is one of the multiple attempts that they are going to attempt to use now that the polls are beginning to tighten up again in all of your battleground states and over a national average. They're discovering that we're not hurting him and that maybe this isn't going to be the landslide that we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and the reason why, you notice I'm a little just exasperated here is because this is so... It does get exasperating and it does get exhausting after a while, looking at just how stupid people are whenever you talk about politics and whenever you talk about a topic. Because even in this article, and there was another article from CNN, big headline, "Here's the problem for Donald Trump with the Atlantic story." And he goes through and it lists. And one of the biggest things that they bring this back to, and this Atlantic article does it as well, is they bring it back to comments that Trump made all the way back with John McCain. And whenever he died and at his funeral, and around his death that Donald Trump made about John McCain. Here's the thing. John McCain and Donald Trump did not like each other. Now, does that necessarily excuse the things that Donald Trump said about him? No. But it had nothing to do with John McCain's military service per se.
He didn't attack him because he was a veteran.
He didn't attack him because he was a veteran. He attacked his service, and that is true. And, I mean, I remember that during 2015, I thought that was in very poor taste and reprehensible then, and I still think the same thing. I think that was a very poor taste, that all of that was in very poor taste, and that was something that Donald Trump should not have said, and I've always maintained that position. But he was not attacking him because of his military service. He was just attacking his military service. It had nothing to do with the fact that he is a veteran. It had to do with Donald Trump decided to use that in their personal feud as a means to attack John McCain. But all of these articles mention this and use this as a leg to support the idea that Donald Trump has said these things about the military, that he feels this way about servicemen and women and such and the like.
And they've went back to that Gold Star family from 2015.
Yes, they've went back to that as well during the DNC, wasn't it?
Wait,
and
they attacked him first, to be fair, in that entire thing, but I don't even remember the details of that incident very well.
That's kind of far away in the memory, but they keep bringing up John McCain, and it says here in the Atlantic article, Trump's understanding of concepts such as patriotism, service, and sacrifice has interested me since he expressed contempt for the war record of the late Senator John McCain, who spent more than 5 years as a prisoner of the North Vietnamese. He's not a war hero, Trump said in 2015 while running for the Republican nomination for president. I like people who weren't captured, and that's the comment that I was just referring to. That was in very poor taste, and that was reprehensible in 2015, and it still is now. But as I said, that really isn't indicative of what Donald Trump thinks of service people in general, because him and John McCain were in no means on good terms. They very much vehemently disliked each other.
And it's continued throughout the McCain family to his daughter.
Yes, to his daughter, which admittedly is understandable since, that was a feud between your father and Donald Trump. I mean, that is understandable, but his daughter, Meghan McCain, is no conservative anyway by any stretch of the imagination.
You can find her on The View.
Yes, and she's supposed to be the conservative voice. She's really not. She's just annoying, and she really isn't even a conservative, as I said.
She kind of gives conservatives a bad name.
She really has no conservative values or principles whatsoever. She is barely Republican, and usually what I will say is that a person is not conservative, they're Republican, but she's hardly even a Republican.
It's a shame they label her as such.
If you labeled her a rhino, it would give rhinos a bad name. But my takeaway from all of this, and this probably isn't going to be a very long episode, because like I said, this is just exasperating how stupid this is, because you've had Kamala Harris, you've had Joe Biden, all the rest come out and say, how strongly they support the military. Joe Biden actually had an ad that launched right after this article came out.
Kind of convenient, isn't it?
Kind of convenient for Joe Biden, but
they're just that good in the studio.
All of these anonymous sources, all right. You had 4 anonymous sources, and apparently Jennifer Griffin from Fox News had 2 sources confirm this story to her. CNN claims that they had multiple sources as well confirm this to them. Still no names, all right. And this has been, journalistic integrity has been at the center of this entire debate for the last week, which is a good thing to examine. I saw a tweet, I do not know who it was, but they said something along the lines of how journalists don't just make stuff up. And the number of comments disagreeing with her was quite large.
Journalists shouldn't make stuff up.
They shouldn't, but they do. They absolutely do. It was like 9,000 comments to only like 1,000 likes. That's what you call in the Twitterverse a ratio. But all these news sources are assuming that we take anonymous sources with as some sort of gospel truth whenever we don't. And why should we? There have been so many things that have been wrong. The whole... Do they just expect us to forget the whole Russia collusion thing that has gone on for years? You know?
Just 8 months ago? That was coming to a conclusion?
Yeah. How just... within months.
Actually, about 6 months, maybe. Because it ended at the end of February.
Yeah. And I mean, just within the year, you've had impeachment and all this other kind of crap, regarding all this kind of stuff. Do they just expect us to forget all of the Russia collusion stuff and all of the stories that they ran? The Steele dossier, which kicked all of that off, which was made up out of thin air, out of whole cloth.
There's people actually being prosecuted just within these last week from the FBI.
Yeah, exactly.
Their criminal cases are beginning.
And that whole thing with the Michael Flynn situation, to where the FBI violated their own protocol, they violated their own procedures as a way to get Michael Flynn to perjure himself or to trap him on charges of perjury. Mm-hmm. And the media was behind this 100%. They made excuses for it.
Yep.
They made excuses for Peter Strzok and whoever else.
Lisa Page.
Yeah, Lisa Page and all that kind of crap. They made excuses for the spying on the Trump campaign. They've been behind this the whole time, and they just expect us now to all of a sudden trust them because they have 4 anonymous sources saying that Donald Trump called these servicemen and women, the fallen, losers and suckers.
Well, if you read the Atlantic article, which I highly suggest you don't, it says that the anonymous sources are protected because they did not want to face mean tweets and media backlash.
Yes, they didn't want to face media backlash or mean tweets. I'm sorry, but that's really not a reason to keep somebody anonymous in journalistic sourcing. The reason that you do that is whenever there is an immediate threat to their life and limb, or a serious risk of repercussions against them if they're per se working in a company. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of blowing the whistle on practices that a company is doing. They don't want repercussions against them for leaking those details. Those are the kind of things. You don't do it over the fact that people might call them hacks and frauds and at them on Twitter with some mean tweets. That is not a good enough reason to keep sources anonymous. Because guess what? If that is your standard for anonymous sources, then we will never have a named source in a story ever again outside of reporting scores for baseball.
Yep.
And football. Outside of sports reporting, you are never going to get a named source again, because if you don't want to face the media backlash and or mean tweets, mean posts on Facebook, then you might as well not even have any named sources. But all of this just looks like this, and I said this to you before, this seems like a bad SNL parody. This seems like something that Alec Baldwin would go on, slap a coat of orange paint on, and go out there and imitate Donald Trump saying. That's what this all sounds like. And the reason why that is because the same people who write, I was going to say something else, but the same people who write the scripts for SNL are the type of people who would write this article for the Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg or whatever the crap his name was. They're one and the same. They're the same type of liberal. That is all we have on this episode of the WireTap. Make sure to go to our Twitter and our Parler. We were at the CWire on both, capital TCNW, at the CWire on Twitter and Parler. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment on what you would like to see down, or leave a comment down there on what you would like to see in the next video. Make sure you go visit our SoundCloud and our YouTube, depending on which platform you are on. Go visit the other. And for Logan, I'm JD, saying goodbye, God bless, and we will see you in the next episode. I see that you gave me the bad chair.